Where to begin? Well, hello YouTube, Cargenix here. Last challenge we attempted to beat Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green with a single Dratini. On today's challenge, let's find out if Kakuna can beat Pokemon Red and Blue while using no items. Now, I've already used a Caterpie, Metapod and a Weedle in Generation 1, so I thought it was only fair to attempt this with a Kakuna challenge. This was also a suggestion by one of my subscribers. Now, taking a look at Kakuna's base stats, they're very similar to Weedle. Although we lose attack and speed, we do gain defense, so I'm hoping that that will aid us in the future. When it comes to Kakuna's moves, they're just the same as Weedle's. I'll be using Poison Sting and String Shot, as well as Struggle. Now for the rules of the challenge. It will be only Kakuna in battle. There will be no items in battle, HM Pokemon will be allowed but not in battles, and there'll be no hacks, cheats or exploits. So let's get on with this challenge. We start this challenge as usual. We head to Viridian Forest after we've done our errands for Professor Oak, catch ourselves a Weedle and evolve it to Kakuna, and thus Mrs. Pod is born. If you're not sure who Mrs. Pod is by now, then I'm guessing you haven't seen my Metapod only challenge. Anyway, we head to Route 22 to face our rival. His Pidgey goes down in 4 poison stings, as we get a poison. Now for Charmander, it takes 6, but we do get a poison towards the end. Now we are going to have to do much more training from level 15, as that's not going to be enough to take on Brock. So we head to the patch that's just outside of Pewter City. We train up there for many hours.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Eventually we get ourselves to level 28. Now this wasn't done in a day, it took a few hours, so I decided to split it on a few other days where I did an hour here and there. Then we use all of our PP, so we've got the move Struggle to now attempt his Geodude. With this we need him not to use too many tackles, as we need a bit more health when it comes to Onix. We do eventually whittle his health down, and it's now time for his Onix. The same thing applies here. We don't want Onix to use too many of his attacking moves, preferably using Bite and Screech, and eventually we will struggle his health down, but it is just a bit of a waiting game. Eventually we take him out and we gain our Thirst badge.
2 hours later.
Mount Moon wasn't too difficult, as long as you avoided rock types and headed to the PC a few times. Eventually we make it to Cerulean City. We now head to Route 24 to face our rival again. For Pidgeotto, it's going to go down in 5 poison stings. His Abra takes 2 poison stings as it only knows teleport, and for Rattata it also takes 2 poison stings as it lowers our defense. For Charmander, it's going to go down in 3 poison stings as we do some good damage. We complete the rest of Route 24 and 25, go to Bill before we head back to Cerulean City to face Misty's gym. Now for Star U, it isn't a problem as long as it continues to use Tackle. If it used Water Gun, it would leave us with a little bit too less health. But Starmie is a different story, as Bubble Beam is very strong. Luckily we get Poison to begin with, which is going to help with all the health down, and also at a crucial moment it decides to use Tackle, leaving us with 3 HP, and we've earned our second badge.
3 hours later.
After we clear the rest of Route 11 and SS Anne for the most amount of XP, we then go and encounter our rival again. This battle wasn't easy because of how many Pokemon he has, and we can't heal up with no items of course. Pidgeotto, although goes down in 4 poison stings, does know Sand Attack and Quick Attack to deal some damage. Raticate also hits us with Hyper Fang to deal some damage, but it goes down in 3 poison stings. Now Kadabra, we wanted to use Teleport because if it uses Confusion, we haven't got enough health for his Charmeleon that uses Ember. This could also inflict Burn, which could take us out. Luckily we're left with 12 HP as we get a poison and finish. We then head over to Vermilion City Gym Leader Lieutenant Surge. After we did a little bit of training in the Diglett Cave, it wasn't too much of a problem as his Voltorb goes down in 4 poison stings as we get a poison. Pikachu is a 2-shot as it's got weak defense. And now for Raichu. Raichu could have been more of a problem than it was, but it didn't really use Thunderbolt on this attempt. It used mainly Ground and Thunder Shocks, so luckily we managed to whittle its health down with Poison Sting. Okay, so we head through Rock Tunnel, and this actually was a nightmare because of this hiker that you cannot pass without defeating. So I learnt that you need to have 3 poison stings, as you want the Geodudes to use self-destruct. As you see here, if it uses defense curl and things like that, it's pointless as you won't have enough health. Eventually we get Geodude to use self-destruct, and guess what, his second Geodude also has to use self-destruct. things are going well at the moment, but the problem is with his Grimer. If he keeps using Tackle and Rock Throw, it will take us out, so we're looking for him to use Self-Destruct as well. In this attempt, we are left with 4 HP.
5 hours later.
Okay, so this is where the challenge takes a bad turn and becomes very time consuming. Erica from Celadon City is probably going to be the easiest battle in a while. What I had to do to get to level 50 was fight as many people as I could, which was accessible to me without Pokeflute on the routes, then fly over to Diglett Cave and train up. Her Victory Bell is only a problem because it knows Wrap and she can heal up with super potions. Eventually we will whittle her health down and take that out. When it comes to her Tangler, that didn't really provide too many problems as it's a little bit weaker and we can take that out as it uses Constrict. Her Vileplume was also a problem as it knows Sleep Powder, so I prefer if she uses Petal Dance as she gets trapped in that move. Eventually, after we break out of her sleep, which could have been the end of us, we take her out with a few more Poison Stings. Okay, so what we now do is we have to head back over to the Diglett Cave to train up all the way to level 58. This took an immense amount of time and again was not done in a day. This was done over a few days a while ago. His Pidgeotto goes down in 3 Poison Stings. The issue we were having before was obviously Sand Attack. Luckily, his Execute goes down in 2 Poison Stings, and his Gyarados will go down in 3, and he doesn't use too many Dragon Rages. Comes to Kadabra, it goes down in 1 shot, which is good, because we need as much health as we can do with Charmeleon, as this is why we couldn't get past him, and why we had to train up so much. And it doesn't end there. We then finish off the rest of the Team Rocket people, as I think we saved those to make it a little bit easier, and it comes to our fight with Giovanni. There isn't too much to explain about Giovanni other than we're going to use Poison Sting. Luckily it gets poisoned and we're going to have to wait until his health whittles down. We can tank a few Rock Flows, although it does do some good damage if it hits us with a critical. And our other issues are that he still has a Rhyhorn, which has got good defense, and he's got a Kangaskhan. So here comes his Rhyhorn, which we get a critical, which I found didn't do a lot of damage for some reason. I don't know if it's because criticals are broken with poison, but it doesn't seem to actually hit that much damage sometimes. Anyway, we get the poison on his Rhyhorn and we eventually whittle his health down as well. And we're on to his final Pokemon Kangaskhan, but we only have 33 HP. Luckily he uses Rage, so we use Poison Sting, which does good damage, and eventually we take it down.
3 hours later.
After we obtain the Pokeflute, we clear as many trainers as we can that is accessible to us without the ability Surf. We then head over to Saffron City to face the Black Belts, as we need all the XP we can get. There, Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan goes fairly easy down with Struggle, but the main problem we're going to have now is Koga of Fuchsia City Gym. We choose to train up at a patch just outside of Fuchsia City, as you can see now, but we have to get to level 80 before we can even attempt this. As you can imagine, this was mind-numbing, and it again was not done in a single day. I split this up through a few hours of training at a time on different days. For his Coffin, we're hoping that his Smoke Screen doesn't prevent us from attacking. Luckily, his Muck uses Disabled, which we got rid of all our String Shots, so we now have Struggle. That takes Muck down in 2. Second Coffin with another 2 Struggles. For his Wheezing, we're hoping for a Self-Destruct, which luckily we tank, and we managed to get our 5th badge. Now it's time for our rival in the Silco Company. Obviously, what we had to do here was fight everyone that we could do when we had Surf, including people on Cinnabar Isle and the Mansion, I think, and then we got to level 90 to attempt our rival. His Pidgeot goes down, and then it's going for his Execute, which will go down with a couple of Poison Stings. His Gyarados could also be a problem, especially using Leer, but luckily it's not taking our health away. Now it's time for his Alakazam, which we still outspeed, luckily. He hits us with a Psybeam, which doesn't confuse us, which again, I like to say that's lucky. And for his Charizard, he's only using Ember, not Flamethrower at the moment. Otherwise, it could have been more of a problem, and we take that down.
A few moments later.
Although we are level 90, our fight with Giovanni isn't going to be an easy one. His Nidorino isn't the problem. That will go down with 3 to 5 Poison Stings. The same about his Kangaskhan. As it knows Rage, that will also go down between 3 and 5 Poison Stings, depending on criticals. Now, his issue is obviously with Rhyhorn, but that doesn't do too much damage to us. It's just the fact that it is very tanky against our Poison Sting. So we are hoping that we do get it poisoned to whittle that health down. He also uses Tail Whip that lowers our defense. That could be an issue when it comes to his Nidoqueen. Also, his Nidoqueen knows Body Slam, so if Body Slam paralyzes us, that could also be a major factor on whether we're going to win this battle or not. On this attempt, we managed to take down his Rhyhorn and still have good health. His Nidoqueen doesn't quite hit us with that much damage with Poison Sting, as before it did get a critical and that took us out. Eventually we go with Struggle and we manage to take down his Nidoqueen and still have some life left. We're now going to move on to Sabrina's gym. After we do fight the rest of her trainers, we can then move on to Sabrina. Her Kadabra goes down in 2 poison stings. He hits us with a Psybeam, which luckily doesn't confuse us. Mr. Mime will take 3 poison stings, I think because it uses a Light Scream, but we eventually do take it down. But we've lost over half our health now. Luckily with Venomoth it decides to use a Psybeam which doesn't hit that much damage, and then it uses Leech Life again, hitting even less. And now for Alakazam, which if he used Psychic would have taken us out. Luckily hits us with Psybeam, then Psywave, leaving us with 3 HP, but we've earned our 6th badge now. Now we don't just straight away head over to Blaine on Cinnabar Isles, we go back to Route 18 and the Diglett Cave, we alternate it to train up to level 95, as I was having some major issues. It wasn't so much his Growlithe and his Ponyta, as they both go down with 2 poison stings. Although Ponyta does know Fire Spin and can heal up, it didn't provide us with the problem. It was actually the Rapidash. Rapidash also knows Fire Spin, but is more tanky. So luckily we get a critical and that will take that Rapidash out. And with Arcanine we never really had enough health, and if it used Fire Blast that would take us down. This time we had enough health and it didn't use Fire Blast, so we've earned our 7th badge. Then head over to Viridian City, which unfortunately this is where the no item challenge ends. I couldn't get past Giovanni as much as I tried and as many hours as I spent. The problem was his Nidoqueen paralyzing us, and then we wouldn't have enough health to get through his Rhydon. I didn't even think if I trained the 3 levels up it would have been possible, as even the closest I got was around 2/3 of his health, maybe half, I can't quite remember, but I just decided that I would attempt to do the rest of the challenge with using no health potions. So what I go for here is 2 X defenses and 4 X attacks, and then we will do as much damage. As you can see here on his Nidoqueen, Poison Sting is barely doing anything even with the 4 boost of attacks, and he paralyzes us. Luckily his Nidoqueen's a little bit weaker, so that's not really showing what would happen when I tried it without it, and we also get Struggle to finish that off. But here where we're doing some good damage with Struggle, but that's with 4x attacks on, so as you can see that's why we couldn't do it. After we heal up we head back to Route 22 to go and face our rival again pre-Poke League. The strategy here will be 2 X defensives, then 4 attacks. We will take down his Pidgeot in 2 Poison Stings. If we weren't to use items, I do believe we wouldn't have been able to get past our rival either, as his Charizard knows Flamethrower and we wouldn't have had the buff defense from the items. His Rhyhorn's always annoying, and even with these extra buffs it's going to take 6 Poison Stings before it goes down. His Execute will go down in 1 Poison Sting, as it's very weak to poison, luckily. When it comes to his Gyarados, again, that could have been a problem for no items, as it knows Leer and Dragon Rage, which does good damage. It goes down in 2 Poison Stings. When it comes to Alakazam, we outspeed it and it goes down in 1 Poison Sting. Charizard, as we're so buffed up, we can take it down in 2 Poison Stings, and Flamethrower didn't do that much. We then head through Victory Road and get to level 100, where let's check out Mrs. Pod's stats. Health is good, attack not, defense really good, speed okay, and special could be better. Lorelei's Dugong would have also stopped us in our tracks from if we attempted to do this with no items, as all it does is use rest, and 1 Poison Sting with no boosts would have done barely anything. As you see here, even with 6 attacks it doesn't take the Dugong out, it takes 3 before that goes down. Comes to Cloyster, that also has a lot of defense, so if we didn't get poison on it, again that still could have been an issue there, and it goes down in 3 Poison Stings. Slowbro has got the same problem with having high defense and knowing Amnesia, but that goes down in 3 Poison Stings. Jinx is weak, that goes down in 1 Poison Sting, and Lapras will go down in 3 Poison Stings, as we do get Confused Raid, which does halt us a little bit, but we manage to slip by Lapras. We are now ready for Bruno. He is a rock type trainer, so that's going to pretty much give us major problems. Luckily his first Onix isn't very strong and decides to use Harden, Slam and then Rage, so we're going to be able to get our 6 X attacks on with little damage being done to us. But the other problem is that he does use X defenses on it, so it's going to be like watching paint dry as we attempt to whittle his health down. Luckily we do get a poison, so with that and our poison sting, and hoping for some criticals maybe, it will eventually take it down. And then he's got his second Onyx, which is a little bit stronger as well, so it's not really going to be that much fun. But eventually we do take his first Onyx down. Luckily his Hitmonchan isn't very strong, that goes down in 2 poison stings, and his Hitmonlee goes down with 1 poison sting. His second Onyx is a little bit easier to take down, but he does manage to get a X defense in, which obviously halts our progress. And we're going through the same thing as we did with the first Onyx. We luckily get a poison on, which will speed it up a little bit, and luckily he doesn't decide to use any potions or anything, and then we run out of poison sting, so we're now on struggle, and we one-shot his Machamp, and that's the end of Bruno. And we've made it to Agathor again. This is probably the 3rd or 4th time on a challenge that I've had to face Agathor, and it doesn't get any easier. Even though I'm level 100 with probably the best stats I can get, she's still going to be a problem. And the reason being is she knows Confuse Ray, Dream Eater, Hypnosis, Haze and Nightshade. These moves alone are why I can't do this part of the challenge without using heal items. You'd need her to be able to just do like Dream Eater 6 times in a row so you could get your 6 X's on, and then even just using something like a Nightshade or Confuse Ray and you getting lucky enough not to hit yourself to take down a Gengar. So as you can respectively understand, it's not going to be possible. I did try it for a little while but just couldn't really get past a Golbat and a Gengar. So for this part, like I said, we're going to just still try and do it. After we've defeated Agathor, we will continue on with the no heal items. So once her Gengar and a Golbat goes down, there isn't really too much to worry about as long as you don't get Hypnosed and Dream Eated by a Haunter and a final Gengar. So eventually we will take her out, as you can see here, as this one was quite lucky. It still took a while to get this clip, as I made a few mistakes with not healing properly. Again, I like to use Hyper Potions most of the time, because I feel like if you use a full restore it can take off the buffs as well. Not sure if that's true, but sometimes it just seems to happen. Anyway, we eventually take down Agathor. Now we're back to using no heal items for Lance. And it's not going to be too much of a problem, as 3 of his dragon types will try and use barrier and agility, as we are poison type. So all we have to do is go for 6 X attacks as his Gyarados tries to whittle our health down. Dragon Rage and Hyper Beam is good against us, but once we max out we do take it down with 2 poison stings. Again, Dragonair will go down in 2 poison stings, and they are actually weak to poison as well, so they should be using something more than agility, but they don't know any better for the AI of Gen 1. Eventually we do take down the second Dragonair after it did heal up. Aerodactyl doesn't really do that much damage to us either, as it decides to use Takedown and Bite, so we eventually take that down with 3 poison stings. The final Dragonite could be an issue only because it can tank quite a bit with barrier, and it heals back up with Hyper Potions. Luckily we have a poison on, although we're not going to do that much damage now because of him maxing out on barrier, but eventually after a while we do whittle its health down and we've defeated Lance. It's been a long time coming, but we finally make it to our rival for the last battle. Strategy here will be using 6 X attacks, as we have plenty of defense being a Kakuna. Now Pidgeot only provides us with a problem if it hit a critical with Sky Attack. That would take us past half health, which means we wouldn't have enough health to tank the later on moves with Charizard and Gyarados, and even with his Rhydon being too tanky. Luckily we outspeed Alakazam, so that goes down in 1 poison sting. Rhydon here, as you can see, it does absolutely nothing, and he also lowers our defense and hits us with Fury attacks, so this is where it could be a bit of an issue. So I switch out one of the attacks for a couple of defenses, hoping that that will save us a little bit of trouble. Luckily we've got poison on, so that is whittling him away, but this Rhydon does something very annoying. When we get him to low health, he uses a full restore, just like Lance sort of did on his Dragonite. So we've now got to wait and whittle the Rhydon's health down again, but this we are losing far too much health, so I wasn't actually sure I was going to be able to do this without any heal items. His Agathor comes out, and luckily that's a one shot. His Gyarados we hit with the poison sting, and for some reason this Hydro Pump does very little damage. I don't know if it got broken along the way. We hit with a poison sting again on his Charizard, and Fire Blast that I thought would take me out didn't. So can someone please explain to me what happened there, because I was expecting to die. Anyway, we managed to do this challenge without any heal items at least. Apart from Agathor, as I explained when doing Agathor, it's pretty much impossible. For the rest of the run up to the 8th badge, I managed to do it without using any items at all, and it took a whopping 61 hours. This challenge was definitely one of the hardest I've ever done. Please drop a subscribe if you like this content. Join me on Twitter if you want to keep up to date, a Discord to help build an active community. That's all from me guys, so I'll catch you on the next one.